Hey friends, my name is Evelyn Joy and welcome back to my channel. If you want a happy, upbeat video, check out over 1,000 videos on my channel. This is not the one. I want to share with you something. I needed a break from my family. I'm in the van. I went to the store. Anyway, that's not the point. I'm having a break from the kids because my heart is grieving, processing history from my country that I was not aware of. I have researched deeply behind the Holocaust. I've deeply researched other tragic eras, but I haven't been very knowledgeable about how African Americans have suffered in our country, and also how Native Americans have suffered in our country, and others. Okay? So I'm aware of some from history and from reading some books, but today one thing in particular really struck me, and as a mama, it was like a knife in my heart. Maybe this is something you've known about a long time, maybe you're already desensitized to it, but for me, it really hurts to know this, to see actual ads mocking this. Back years ago, during the time of the slaves here in America, in the South, hunting alligators was very lucrative business, right? But a lot of white men, they lost arms and legs trying to hunt these alligators, right? So they chose to use black babies and black children for bait to try to lure the alligators. So not only did children and babies lose their lives and their limbs from this, but it was also mocked in newspaper ads. It was mocked by toys that were created and sold and can still be found in antique stores. And there was a candy company that made black licorice, and their ad was a little black baby scared of a smiling alligator that was licking its lips behind it, just grinning at it like it wanted to eat the baby. I'm not only disgusted and saddened that this happened, but that it was mocked, that it was that there was enough people that were okay with this behavior that they funded it by buying toys and candy, things you buy for children, mocking babies that died. What kind of sick mentality do you have to have? And more than that, I read the words to a nursery rhyme story of 10 little, I can't even say the title of the story because it has an offensive word, but 10 little black boys, but that's not what it's called. You can imagine. And the story's counting down from 10 down to 0 about how each one of them died. This was a nursery rhyme story commonly read to children. What kind of messed up mentality do you have to raise your kids reading stuff like that? It's so far removed from how I grew up that it's hard for me to comprehend. But rather than plugging my ears and covering my eyes and pretending like history never happened, I want to be aware of history. Because, like, outside of the Holocaust Museum, it said, if you don't know history, it's doomed to repeat itself. And I feel like history, unfortunately, repeats itself whether we know about it or not. But I can't change the past. I can only have control over my own actions. So I can choose to not be racist. I can choose to, as a mom, I have the power to raise my kids to make the right choices. Teach them about how God made different races and how God made us all equal. He loves us all, and how we can be friends with people of different races, and no one is above another. If you make more money, if you have a different colored skin, you're not better than your brother. So I guess that's why my heart is so saddened by hearing these bits and pieces. And I'm just starting down that rabbit hole, learning more about tragic history. It's a hard rabbit hole to go down. I was also wondering, too, why is watermelon, for example, and fried chicken, why are those negatively connected with African American people in this country? Why would that be negative? And I honestly didn't even know that there was any sort of racial connection until this year or last year, and I didn't know it was a negative one until just recently. And I'm like, why would watermelon and fried chicken? Ignorant Kansas girl, I'm not from the South. I didn't grow up around these stereotypes. I didn't know, but so I researched the watermelon one. I still need to look up the fried chicken one. But when African Americans were becoming free, okay, when they were enslaved, they some of them worked on plantations and grew watermelon. Now, watermelon, I'm growing some from seed right now. It's neat because you can just have some watermelon seeds. You can plant them and you can grow and you can make a business selling watermelons and make some money off of it. And so, in a way of it was a way to have a business when they were newly freed slaves, right? Grow watermelons and sell them. And so the newspaper ads and the people that were against, freeing the slaves and stuff, they racist people, racist newspaper people, they did a lot of ads, and there were even books and toys made once again with little black children with cartoony, extra big mouths and lips, making fun of their features and cutting the watermelon slices the lengthwise so it was extra big, and just making fun of the fact that black people like watermelon. And I relate it to when I was a kid, right? When I was a kid, I went by Evie, short for Evelyn, and people would call me Evie. And it wasn't the fact that they accidentally got my name wrong. It was the fact that they intentionally were making fun of me for it that hurt. So with the watermelon thing, it was like, the fact is that they want to hurt with this correlation with the watermelon. They're intentionally mocking about the watermelon and trying to make someone feel less than. As a white person in this country, I've only experienced this a few times, but some people in this country have grown up their whole life feeling this way, but feeling like an outsider. When I was in elementary school, in second grade, I went to a mostly black school, probably say 95% black. There were maybe 2 or 3 white students in my maybe 28 person class. And yeah, I was bullied and stuff, but I didn't really feel like I wasn't a part of the group. I was, I've more felt bullied by white kids, to be honest, and excluded, and like, you're not good at sports, you can't be one of us. You don't know how to climb the monkey bars, you can't be one of us. You're not skinny, you can't be one of us. You're not, fill in the blank. Just that feeling of, you're not good enough to be included in the group. You're not good enough to be one of us. And when I went to South America, one of the most disheartening, saddest things to discover was No matter how many years you live as a missionary, I was just there 2 months. No matter how many years you live as a missionary in a foreign country, you'll always be a foreigner. You'll never be one of them. You'll never be accepted as part of the group. Sure, maybe they'll like you because you're American and Americans are cool. Sure, you can learn the language, you can even learn the culture, but you'll never be one of them. You'll never be a part of the group. And unless you've been isolated or excluded, you don't know how that feels. And I don't fully know how African Americans growing up in America have felt. Also, that expectation. There's a way that people treat others, and it's a proven fact with children that if you expect something of them, they live up to your expectations. I never tell my children they're stupid. I always tell them they're smart. I always tell them make better choices if they're not making good choices. But I always talk to them about, share, be kind, help others, I have those expectations for them. But I know someone who, her dad had the expectation that she would get pregnant in high school. She didn't. She got pregnant after high school, but she did get pregnant outside of marriage. He said she probably wouldn't graduate from high school. She did, but she didn't really go to college. He had these expectations of her, and he put her down and told her, you'll never amount to anything, you're going to do this or that. And she partially lived up to those expectations. They weighed her down. And I think racial stereotypes can be similar in that to accomplish something, you have to push past and work harder to get past that barrier of the racial stereotype that everyone expects me to become a criminal. Everyone expects me not to make it. Everyone expects me not to go to college. Everyone expects me not to fill in the blank. And so I think that's another aspect of being a minority in this country that I have not experienced personally, but that I could have more compassion and empathy not knowing how that feels. That there have been expectations and stereotypes put on their shoulders. And I don't know what it feels like to be the mother of an African American boy and to have to raise them to be very, very extra vigilant and very extra careful and extra polite whenever pulled over by a police officer. Because that fear that just a regular traffic stop could end up possibly violent. Now, is that fear valid in situations with racist cops? Yeah. Maybe it's also a partially false narrative from a political party that gains from that. I don't know. I've never been African American. I can't judge that. Now, in this video, if I've said anything that offends you, please let me know in the comments. This video might end up deleted, but I just wanted to share that I've been learning and growing in my knowledge of African American history, and I think that if your heart can take it, you should educate yourself as well, so that we do not repeat the mistakes of our ancestors. Have a great day.